the NFL season is like Netflix. If you're one to Netflix and chill, you like to binge the seasons of your favorite TV shows. But once those seasons are over, the grind does not stop with the writers and the actors and the producers and everybody involved. Well, the same concept applies for the NFL. Even though the season is over right now, we got the off season. The grind never stops. I'm David Street, and this is the Snap Show. What's up, everybody? Once again, my name is David. Matthew will not be able to join us tonight, but I am here with my other co hosts, Ed Smith
Heyo.
and Thaddeus Lloyd.
Hello.
So, as I said before, guys, the actual NFL season might be over, but obviously we got the offseason going on, and a big point of discussion is the franchise tag. And we've got a few players who got tagged, including some who did not get tagged, including reigning Super Bowl MVP Kenneth Walker. But which by the way, that I don't get that, but we can talk about Kenneth Walker a later time. As for the players who did get tagged, I think probably the most prominent one, in my opinion, George Pickens getting franchise tagged by the Dallas Cowboys, and of course, Kyle Pitts getting tagged by the Falcons. Ed, when it comes to George Pickens, obviously, comes to Dallas, they decide to put the franchise tag on him. What do you make of this?
I think it rolls right into the aspect of Jerry Jones' whole business plan for the Cowboys. Let's tag the most exciting player that we can on our roster to make sure that he doesn't go anywhere and we can keep scoring touchdowns. But let's not actually win games with defense and line play and all these things that really make a long term success without overspending the cap. Right now, the Cowboys are over the cap going into the new league year, and this is just a move that I don't think they needed to make because, yes, George Pickens would walk, but it's not like they don't have CD Lamb on the other side that's still going to be there next year. George Pickens just winds up having a fantastic year with Dak Prescott, and it looks all flashy. It looks all good. It gets fans in the stands spending money, and that is Jerry Jones' biggest thing with owning the Cowboys. How much money can he earn from the fan experience? And George Pickens is going to exacerbate that. I don't think it's a good move long term for the Cowboys, but if you're looking for a short term, let's make sure the Cowboys are on Sunday Night Football as many weeks as possible. Yes, this makes total sense in the mind of Jerry Jones.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if there's one thing about Jerry Jones ball, you'll always get entertainment. Not necessarily a Super Bowl win, but you'll always get entertaining football. Thad, let me ask you this: of all the players, and I'll just give my take real quick. Of all the players who have the most to prove that got franchise tagged, who do you think it is? In my opinion, I think it's Kyle Pitts. I think he has the most to prove because he had a great rookie year, kind of fell off the next 3 seasons or so, but this past season, massive improvement. Scored the most touchdowns he's ever scored in his career, and obviously the Falcons, they want him to prove it by giving him that franchise tag. But if not Kyle Pitts, who do you think has the most to prove?
I honestly think, well, that is a good one. Kyle Pitts does have a lot to prove, but if you look at it, he's doubled his touchdown total, or no, he scored more touchdowns every year than the previous year. and he scored a career high in touchdowns last year, so he was going to even score more next year, right? But joking aside, that's a good one. But I think one we're going to have to look at is I think Daniel Jones.
Hmm.
He got franchise tagged. That's a big one because they put a lot of trust in him. They franchise tagged him like halfway through the year actually, and they're like, we're going all in on you basically. And it's going to be a big year because obviously they were doing really well at the beginning of the season, but then even before he got injured, the team was starting to slip apart. He was starting to, turn into Daniel Jones, turn the ball over with 3 fumbles every game. So it did seem he was doing better than New York, but at least the beginning of the season, maybe he was overachieving. We're going to find that
Hmm.
out next season if he doesn't get hurt again.
Just a quick point as a clarification. They did the franchise on him on Tuesday, the franchise tag on him Tuesday, because they were going between Daniel Jones doing a transition tag, which is what they wound up doing. So he's making 37.8 this upcoming year. And they did not franchise tag Alec Pierce, who is now going to go into free agency. So
Hmm.
the
That's right.
most approved for Daniel Jones isn't just on him earning that tag. It's did the Colts make the right decision by going with Jones over Alec Pierce?
Yeah, and I think we'll probably talk about Alec Pierce later on as we get into the best available free agents. But
Mhm.
when it comes to players who did not get tagged, the most surprising to me by far is Kenneth Walker not getting the franchise tag. Now, I don't know if this is Schneider doing some 5D chess on us. I don't know if they plan to bring him back with some other deal, but the Super Bowl MVP and you don't give him the franchise tag. Ed, is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? Like, were you surprised that Walker didn't get the franchise tag?
I'm only surprised that Walker didn't get the franchise tag because you've got Charbonnet that's going to be coming off of an ACL, which leaves them basically with nothing of the 1-2 punch that got them to the Super Bowl. When
Mm,
you talk about Super Bowl MVPs, then going out and getting big contracts after winning that trophy, historically, it doesn't turn out well for whoever that player is playing for the following year. And
mm,
I'm going all the way back to 30 years, back to Super Bowl 30 with Larry Brown, who had the 3 interceptions against Neil O'Donnell uh, for the Cowboys over the Steelers game, which, sorry, Matthew, that, there's that. Larry Brown was a complete bust in the free agent market. Uh,
mm.
Malcolm Brown did not fare well in the free agent market, after he got his money. So I I think it's a shrewd move by the Seahawks because there is some running back talent that I think that they believe is still going to be there when they get to the end of the first round of the draft. And keep in mind, the Seahawks don't need much. So, and they've got money to spend. So, if they do not get the guy that they want to draft, they're still going to have some capital to go get a running back that they want.
And speaking of running back, obviously Brees Hall got the franchise tag as well. Now I talk about one running back where I was surprised he did not get the tag. Now I'm not trying to say that I'm surprised that Brees Hall got the tag, but I think if you look at his numbers, you look at his stats. I mean, they weren't bad, but I'm not sure they warranted a franchise tag. Thaddeus, Do you think this is just a matter of, well, you're pretty much our only good player on offense, so we're just going to give you the franchise tag? Uh, Thad, you're
That is
muted.
Oh, sorry. For which player again?
Brees
So I was
Hall.
asked, yeah, Brees
Result.
Hall for the
Yeah,
Jets.
yeah. Especially after the whole Justin Fields debacle, where he could barely throw over 100 yards, this franchise tag was definitely justified. I mean, they. probably could have franchise tagged one of their linemen. One of their big achievements was all five linemen played all 17 games, so that was that was a big plus. You could have franchise tagged one of those guys, but as far as terms of like special impact, it would have been Hall, and I really wouldn't have thought anybody else on the Jets last year would have deserved a
Mm.
franchise tag at all, even.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. But yeah, obviously with the NFL season or off season rather, we know is a domino effect, and with the franchise tag, it certainly affects players who get traded. So let's move on to that. And so I think we have to address the elephant in the room, and that is the DJ Moore trade, getting traded from the Bears to the Bills. Now, the way I look at it, um, I think DJ Moore could certainly use a fresh change of scenery, because he has. It's not that he's been bad. It's not that he was bad with the Bears, but since in his 3 seasons with the Bears, he has gotten progressively worse. His yard total has gone down each of the last 3 seasons, and then also you look at the receptions from this past season and his targets. He had about 50 fewer receptions and about 50 fewer targets this past season than he did the season before. Although funny enough, he did he actually did have the exact same amount of touchdowns. So the one stat that matters the most, he didn't get worse, didn't get better, just kind of stayed the same. Um, but yeah, I think with him, going to the Bills, which certainly the Bills need a wide receiver threat, and DJ Moore has had some great years, mainly with the Panthers. Like I said, I think this is just. I think a change of scenery could do good for him. But Ed, how do you
Mhm.
see this playing out? Do you think he'll get a nice fresh start with Josh Allen?
I think this is a move that benefits both sides of this. Yes, it's going to be a good move for DJ Moore to go be a number one that is without question the number one. And considering you still have Keon Coleman on the other side, which he was drafted to be a number one, but he's
Hmm.
winding up to be a number two in that offense. So I think it does benefit Joe Brady and the new identity of the offense now that Joe Brady's handcuffs are unshackled by Sean McDermott being in his way as the head coach.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be a an offense that DJ Moore is featured more, and then also expanding his role as a guy that can just open up the field for the rest of the offense, and uh, keep James Cook just cooking, basically. Um, when you're talking about the Bear side of it, though, they had a surprise retirement over the this past weekend in Drew Dahlman at center. Well, when you look at some of these top free agents, I'm going to give a little spoiler here. I think the Bears are really going to go in all in on trying to sign that top free agent uh, to that offensive line, so they have as little disruption to that offense as possible for Caleb Williams going forward.
Yeah, agreed. Um, Thad, obviously another big trade. David Montgomery going from the Lions to the Texans. Kind of had a 1-2 punch with Jameer Gibbs. Although, in all honesty, Montgomery really more so played second fiddle to Jameer Gibbs, and now he's going to a Texans team where Bucky Marks was the number one back. But I think it's obvious that Montgomery is going to be the new lead back because Marks, in my opinion, is an average running back at best. So I think with David Montgomery coming in, he'll kind of be that new workhorse. Do you agree or disagree?
I kind of disagree. I think it's going to be more similar to what he had in Detroit. Now, Woody Marks is not Jameer Gibbs. I am not saying that,
Woody,
obviously.
sorry, not Bucky. Woody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but no, I thought Woody Marks showed some promise. He was one of their better backs during the season because Joe Mixon never played it down for him, right? He had a really,
Yeah.
really
Right.
good 2024 year, and then he was injured on the PUP list the entire year, and it looks like he's probably going to be phased out even. So they had Marks start for them, surprisingly, for the whole year. And you had Nick Chubb backing him up, who at this point is just the really old veteran. Injuries slowed him down, unfortunately. So he's a shell. He was a shell of himself this year. So I think Marks showed some promise as a rookie, but it'll probably be even better for him now that Montgomery is there, because Montgomery is still a really good Punisher downhill running back who can, like you said, I do think he will be their lead back. But with Marks in there, I think they're going to have at least a better 1-2 punch than Marks and poor old Nick Chubb back there. They still had Ogumbawale in there as well, but he's more of a specialist than an actual running back. So this was a really good move by the Texans, I think, and it's going to be up to C.J. Stroud this year for them.
Yeah, I mean, do any of us have any faith in C.J. Stroud or no? Well,
I don't have faith
anyway,
in his offensive line at this point. We've got a long way to go before we get there.
And speaking of the Texans' offense,
yeah, that's the weird thing though, is everyone was trashing the Texans' offensive line, but apparently it graded out average last year, which was an improvement over 2 years ago when C.J. Stroud did better with a worse offensive line. So I don't know.
yeah. Well, speaking of the Texans' offensive line, another big trade: Titus Howard going from the Texans to the Browns. Now, I think in one way this could potentially help Shedeur Sanders, because if you look at Titus Howard on Pro Football Focus, he graded out as an excellent pass blocker, but he was a horrible run blocker. So all things balance out perfectly even right there. So what do you make of Titus Howard going to the Browns? Ed, do you think this will help Shedeur Sanders? Do you think it's not going to matter?
It's going to help Shedeur Sanders maybe get some consistency in his offensive line. The biggest thing with the Browns offense, though, I don't think is Shedeur Sanders. I think it's going to be how well their running back comes back from injury and how effective he's going to be, because he is that guy. And forgive me, I'm losing track of his name. The kid out of Ole Miss. He is a dynamic runner. The offense can be built around him, so Shedeur Sanders doesn't have to, drink from a fire hose nearly as badly as what it looks like for a rookie quarterback, especially one that was drafted in the 5th round.
Gotcha. So we've been talking about trades that have already happened, but what about trades that we think will happen? Like Thaddeus, who are some players you have in mind that you think are going to be traded?
Initially, just thinking off my own team, I was thinking Brandon Ayuk would have been traded, but it looks like he'll probably just be released because they're just not going to have to do anything with him. There's not. There's also the Maxx Crosby thing, which is going on currently.
Yes, he is the most obvious candidate.
Yeah, everyone. The situation's weird because I remember beginning of last year, he's like, no, I'm going to be a Raider for life. And then now he's like, no, I want to be out of here. But then they're like, no, it'd probably be a bad move. And then they're like, well, the Raiders probably shouldn't trade him. They should just release him. And they're like, no, we should trade him. So it's a whole weird controversy, which is going on right now with Maxx Crosby.
Yeah.
Obviously, if he were to be traded, it'd be massive for any team that got him.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just a really weird one. There's not too many I can think of off the top of my head. Although another one that's stirring up right now is Anthony Richardson.
I was just about to say AR-15.
Yeah, which team is he going to land on? Although I get this feeling at this stage of his career, he's following the trend of Trey Lance, top 5 pick, super, everyone was oohed and awed by the physical traits, but could just not play NFL quarterback at all. Probably end up being a third stringer for at least another year, and then he'll fall out of the league. That was just my opinion, but yeah, those are
Yeah.
just a couple of the names.
Yeah, I mean, I think in Trey Lance's defense, I think he fell into an absolutely impossible situation. I mean, I don't think he could have expected Mr. Irrelevant of all players to, be the guy for the 49ers. So Lance kind of fell into a unique situation there. But Ed, are there any players you think could potentially be traded?
I think there are some players that are cancers to their locker room that I think could be on the trade block that but has not been announced at this point. And the one that immediately comes to mind for me in that category would be AJ Brown, because there's just so much animosity between him and the organization right now. Howie Roseman's got to make a decision. Does he continue to keep him around for the production that he's given that offense and still have two number one receivers? Or does he try and get some either trade value or another piece to make up for the free agents that he's losing on the defensive side of the ball?
Yeah. Now, when it comes to the conflict between AJ Brown and the Eagles, do you think a part of it is because he's unhappy with the Eagles being a run first team? Like he wants to go somewhere where he'll be featured more.
I think he's one of the very talented diva type wide receivers, a la Terrell Owens,
Hmm.
where uh, it's give the ball to me. I need the
Hmm.
ball. We only win if I get the ball. And
Yeah.
obviously, that is a run first team with run first personnel, and he thinks that everything should flow through him, and it shouldn't. Uh, Michael Irvin did not win 3 Super Bowls by having the offense roll through him. He did it by being a complementary piece to the run game of Emmitt Smith and that offensive line, which is what A.J. Brown needs to be. But
Hmm.
today's climate in the NFL, the wide receiver gets all the attention, and that's what he wants.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. All fair points. Um, you know, obviously we know some players have been signed as free agents, but there are still, as you guys know, some free agents available. In fact, some of the best free agents are on the market right now. Guys like Trey Hendrickson, Tyler Linderbaum, Alec Pierce. And so what I want to do is I want to go through the best free agents that are available and kind of predict where they're going to go. I want to start off with Trey Hendrickson. You guys can let me know if you agree, if you disagree. Trey Hendrickson, I think, some sites, I know ESPN has him listed as the number one free agent, which is completely understandable. I mean, the guy's a game-wrecking monster. He's an excellent pass rusher. Obviously, dealt with some injury concerns this past year, but beyond this year, I wouldn't really consider him to be an injury-prone guy. Um, I don't think he's going to sign with the Bengals. I think, to me, the one team that sticks out, that is by far the most obvious one, is the New England Patriots. And the reason why I say that is because, they just come off a Super Bowl loss. And one of the things that the Patriots were lacking in severely was pass rush. They were, I think, 26th or 27th in sacks, and they were also bottom 10, bottom 5 in pressures. Trey Hendrickson fixes that issue immediately. And so if I'm Robert, or who's the brain fart? I can't remember the general manager for the Patriots, but whoever the general manager for the Patriots is, if I'm him, I'm on the phone. I'm getting Hendrickson signed ASAP. Ed, what do you think? Do you think the Patriots would be a good fit for Hendrickson? And if not, where do you think he goes? Or do you think he re-signs with Cincinnati?
I think he's a good fit for New England. He's a keep your nose down and keep grinding type player, which is what Mike Vrabel wants as out of his entire team. But I will say I see a different scenario, especially if what we just talked about does occur with Max Crosby leaving Las Vegas. If
Mm,
Max Crosby leaves Las Vegas, that leaves an opening and salary to go out and get a Trey Hendrickson to fill that void. And considering that they have so many, uh, they know who their quarterback is going to be coming out of this draft. They know who their running back is going to be coming out of this draft. The offensive side of the ball, I think they have a good idea of what they want to look like. It's the defensive side of the ball that, especially if you lose Max Crosby, you have to refill that spot. And I think Trey Hendrickson is a decent replacement for him.
yeah, absolutely. Uh, Thad, what's a prediction you have for a top free agent that's available? Where do you think that free agent will land? Do you think he'll sign back with his team?
Another free agent I have is Kyler Murray. He's he was announced that he was going to be released by the Cardinals, so he's going to be a free agent. This is this was really funny because I saw it in Madden actually just like 2 years ago. I thought it was really funny. But Kyler Murray to the Falcons because they are going to be releasing Kirk Cousins, I believe, and Michael Penix. He's been injury prone. He's had really up and down, first 16 starts of his career. So I don't even know if Stefanski trusts Penix with the system. Bring in, Kyler Murray, who is himself up and down, but he's been, he's had at least some good games, right, in his career, and he's a veteran too. So I think it would be fun for Murray to go to the Falcons and see what Stefanski can do with that.
Financially,
Yeah,
it makes a lot of sense uh, for that move to take place because if so, the Falcons can sign Kyler Murray to a league minimum because the Falcons, because the Cardinals are still going to be paying Kyler Murray $43 million off the contract that was guaranteed by releasing him. So whoever Kyler Murray goes to, that's going to be on the cheap. And then Kyler Murray still gets the money that he was going to have as being a starter anyway.
yeah, for sure. Um, another top free agent. To be honest, this one kind of feels pointless to talk about because I feel like he's going to re-sign with this team. I think it's obvious, and that of course is Tyler Linderbaum, center for the Ravens. I do not foresee the Ravens letting him go. They're way too smart for that. They would be idiots to not resign him, and I think they are going to resign him. But what do you guys think? Do you think Linderbaum signs with the Ravens? Does he go somewhere else? What do you think, Ed?
I think this is the target that the Bears have for getting rid of DJ Moore. I think, other than getting the second round pick on that draft, on this year's draft, they are freeing up cap space to go get Linderbaum. And it is, I agree with you that Baltimore does not want to let him walk. So there's going to be a somewhat bidding war between those two teams for the services of Tyler Lindenbaum. And he's still a young guy. Center is a position in which you are going to get the best out of them for a good 10-year stretch. And he hasn't even hit the age in which that clock starts. So I think Linderbaum does wind up in Chicago, although it is going to be a tough sell, and the numbers are going to get big on this signing. Between the two teams, just bidding back and forth. It's going to be an auction.
Well, Thad, I think he resigns with Baltimore. Ed thinks he's going to go to Chicago. What do you think? Does he resign with Baltimore or does he go to another team? And if so, which team?
I think it's 50-50 for me right now. There is the 50% chance he signs with the Ravens because he was really good for the Ravens, right? He's one of the top centers in the league. He'll be the top center free agent if he decides to go that route. However, it's going to be a lot of money. He's only 26 years old, and he's already one of the best centers, so it's going to be a lot of money for the Bears, or it's going to be a lot of money for the Ravens. Now, normally I would say there would have been a higher percentage. He would have definitely re-signed with the Ravens if John Harbaugh was still coach. However, Jesse Minter is coming in. He's a defensive guy. I don't know. Obviously, it's his first time being head coach. I don't know if he's going to prioritize the offense over the defense. So that gives the leeway for him to be a free agent. And if he does, I really inclined to agree with Ed that he'll go to the Bears because them losing their center is pretty big, especially in a Ben Johnson offense where you need your center.
And not to mention, you
Yeah.
have Caleb Williams for 3 more years on his rookie contract.
True. That is a good point. Another big free agent available is Alec Pierce from the Indianapolis Colts. Had 1,000 yards, I think about 5 or 6 touchdowns, which I consider it to be very impressive, especially for an offense where Jonathan Taylor was the main feature of that offense. Now, this is probably a bold prediction, but just hear me out. I think my prediction for Alec Pierce is the Las Vegas Raiders. I think that would be a perfect fit for him for a couple of reasons. One, I think he would be an immediate security blanket for Fernando Mendoza. I know the draft hasn't happened, but we all know the Raiders are going to pick Mendoza. You can just talk that one up right there, right? And Clint Kubiak being an offensive guy, you're ushering in that new Clint Kubiak era. So I think Pierce is going to go to the Raiders, but Thad, what do you think?
One of the teams, yeah, I'm trying not to be biased here, but I really think the 49ers are going to sign him. I just read a report which came out a couple hours ago. I think it was the Raiders, the 49ers, Raiders, and Giants were the biggest contenders for Pierce, or would be the biggest spots for Pierce. And it makes a lot of sense because, well, the 49ers are getting rid of Ayuk. Juwan Jennings will also be a free agent, and they're going to need another receiver besides Ricky Pearsall to fill that void. I don't know if he'll go to the Raiders because, I mean, they did. It would make sense because they lost Jacoby Myers. They traded Jacoby Myers away. But Alec Pierce is a great receiver, but I don't know if he's a true number one. Like all he is a deep threat. I mean, which is great. That's what you need in the NFL. But I don't know if he's feels like a true number one. So it would probably be hard for me seeing him go to the Raiders. That's why, and with the Niners, him and Ricky Pearsall would probably be a really deadly combo, honestly. So that's where I see him, but I could see him go to the Raiders or a different team.
Ed, do you think Indianapolis possibly brings him back, try to make it work with Daniel Jones?
I think it's a possibility. There's a good chance that Alec Pierce could give the hometown discount to the Colts just to get back to what they were the first half of last year and just expect to have everybody stay healthy long enough to finish the season out. Now, short of doing that, there's a plethora of places that really would be looking for a deep threat or a guy that can be a number one or a high number two in an offense. And I think he fits that bill. And Thaddeus, you gave your pitch for your team. I'll give my pitch for my team. Alec Pierce going to the Packers just feels right, doesn't it? Because we're going to be losing Romeo Doubs. Christian Watson can't stay healthy long enough to have an entire season. So we get thin in the wide receiver room pretty quickly in the season. And I'm just going to say it. Fast white guy wide receivers are kind of our thing. So that's kind of where I go with that.
Yeah, like Jordy Nelson.
Absolutely.
Yes. So, Thad, what are some other who are some other top free agents available that we haven't talked about yet, and where do you think they'll end up going?
The interesting one is actually from Ed's team, and that would be Malik Willis.
Hmm.
Currently ranked number one, actually, on the NFL's top 100 free agency list. He's a really interesting prospect because he was drafted by Tennessee, played a few games for him, was not that great because Will Levis was pretty bad. He came in, was
Yeah.
also bad. Nobody gave it a thought. He goes to Green Bay, and then he goes after Jordan Love goes down for a couple games, and Malik Willis basically almost wins every single game. Not only does he win the games, but he actually looks decent. So that's why he's fetched the high. Probably he's probably going to fetch at least a good price this offseason. We could be looking at another Sam Darnold, honestly. Although Sam Darnold was a much higher draft pick than Willis was. Willis it's very interesting, and it'll be interesting to see where he'll go. Now, probably the most likely destination will be the bottom feeder teams, so like the Clevelands of the world, the Jets probably. But it'll be interesting to see where he goes, even if it is a bad team. I want to know if he'll be able to take what he was able to get from Matt LaFleur in Green Bay and be able to use it at another team.
Ed, what about you? What are some free agents that you can think of, and where do you think they'll end up going?
Well, I think a team that is very interesting in the idea of getting one of these quarterbacks, because there's three on the board that just scream, I need to be a starter in this league. And that's Malik Willis, like we just talked about. We already talked about Kyler Murray. And Kirk Cousins is still serviceable, even at his advanced age. Marcus Mariota, he's a backup through and through at this point of his career. And Aaron Rodgers, I think, is Pittsburgh or bust. So we're really only talking about those three. The team that makes the most sense to go out and get one of these top end quarterbacks out of this free agency class is the Jets, because there is no help coming for the Jets in this draft as far as quarterbacks are concerned. So does Aaron Glenn just tailor the offense to Brees Hall and have a quarterback like Kirk Cousins come in and just distribute to the playmakers, because they still have Garrett Wilson? They're still decent on the offensive line. So I think that's really where we're talking about. I think Kirk Cousins might be a fit in New Jersey for one season. If you want to have a long-term deal done, I think Malik Willis, that's where he winds up going.
Yeah, absolutely. And with me being the Bucks fan, I should definitely mention Mike Evans, who is, he is going to become a free agent, and a part of me feels like he will come back because if there's something that Jason Light is known for is that he always brings back his homegrown drafted players. But I don't think Mike Evans is going to come back because he's getting up there in age, and at this point he has nothing left to prove. I mean, he's a Super Bowl champion. Being biased, but I think he's a Hall of Famer. But I think he's got nothing left to prove in Tampa right now. And in fact, Ed, we were talking about this team earlier. But you know who I think would be a phenomenal fit for Mike Evans? To me, it makes way too much sense. The Buffalo
The
Bills.
Dolphins? Okay.
Yeah, no, not the Dolphins. No, I think Mike Evans. No, especially not the Dolphins. No. I think Mike Evans would be a perfect fit for a Super Bowl contending team, like a team that's right there. And listen, I'm pretty much done predicting the Bills to go to the Super Bowl because they had the easiest path ever and they still effed it up. But he goes to the Bills. That's an immediate number one threat for Josh Allen. I mean, don't you think?
I get it, but considering they just took on DJ Moore's salary, I don't know if they'll do it. If if there is a team that is going to push all the chips in the middle of the table and go all out to get Mike Evans, it's I know we've talked about them quite a bit, and it makes me sick to my stomach to do it. But say the Bears,
Mm.
because losing DJ Moore, they've got a spot on the roster to fill. If they fill it with Mister Consistency and he can stay healthy the entire season, along with an offensive line bolstered by Linderbaum, I think that is a, a great recipe for the long game of getting to the Super Bowl.
What do you think, Thad? Do you think Mike Evans comes back to Tampa, or do you think his time is over and he's going to move on?
I think he's going to stay. It feels like he's one of those. I think it feels more like on the part of the Buccaneers if they want to re-sign him, because I think Mike Evans, he's been there for over a decade. I think he wants to be a Buccaneer for life. But if they're not going to do it for him, then he'll walk in free agency, find another team, and then sign that 1-day veteran contract. So I do think if he does resign, it'll probably be with the Bucks. But if the Bucks aren't willing to, pay him, then he'll go elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, certainly we will see what happens. And as I said before, the NFL season never stops, whether it's the playing season or the off season. Just like Netflix, NFL and show. Well, guys, thank you for tuning in, and be sure to leave us a comment. Tell us, what you agree with, what you disagree with, and list some free agents down in the comments and predict where you think they're going to go. But this is David Street with Thaddeus Lloyd, Ed Smith, signing off. Ciao.